Good afternoon and welcome back to the latest edition of the Entertainment Show, where we look at TV shows and movies debuting here in Ireland and the UK this upcoming month. And obviously, many people are aware have been following sort of this TV series on Netflix. They've seen the first 4 seasons so far in terms of Van Helsing. They've seen Kelly Overton. They've seen Alexis Paunovic, who played the character Julius Kelly Overton, who played Vanessa Van Helsing. But we have a surprise in store now for many of our listeners and audience and TV viewers, because a new character comes onto our screens in terms of season 5, and she is the renowned, the one and only Tricia Helfer. And not to give too much away, but she's going to be playing the iconic role of Dracula himself. Normally a sort of a male sort of orientated role, Dracula. How honoured and delighted are you to be providing a female representation of such a worldly, ghastly, sort of eerie, sort of iconic character such as Dracula, Trish, first of all?
I mean, completely honored to do the first female Dracula. I didn't really even think about it too much in the beginning, because I think if I had 2 episodes where I was introduced in season 4, in episode 7 and in episode 13. And I think I would have kind of been a little almost paralyzed with, oh my gosh, I'm playing this iconic character and it's the first time, of Dracula being female. I just kind of went into it and did it and tried to make the character my own. And the show is a very, Vanessa Van Helsing, and now in the 4th and 5th season with Violet and Jack Van Helsing, it is very female centric anyway. So it sort of made sense to have Dracula be female in this version, in our storytelling of it. But one of the things I love about Van Helsing is, I say it's female centric because you have Vanessa Van Helsing, the premier vampire hunter that is a female, but it's not to say that there isn't great male roles. Sometimes shows can be skewed too much one way. It's like, we're going to empower women, but then we make it so that it's not balanced, and then you're going too far the other way, right? And I think with Van Helsing, they've done that very well. You've just got great, strong characters all around, male, female, whatever. And I think it works really well. So me being Dracula fit right in, I think.
And I suppose, Tricia, you mentioned there your appearances in season 4, and obviously by that stage, Van Helsing had really sort of established itself on Netflix in terms of a real sort of popular sort of show. We all remember the movie that came out, and while that was maybe sort of a good sort of movie in as well, it was probably a big camp in terms of its appeal, in terms of you always felt there was a light PG sort of rating towards it in terms of that, in terms of viewership. But Van Helsing, this type of show, it's more sci-fi driven, it's more adult sort of driven. And one thing that struck me in terms of its viewers is the demographic of viewers, its range of viewers, from maybe sort of 16, 17, all the way up to 40, 50-year-olds. There seems to be people that are really sort of latching on to this sort of version, and an awful lot of Walking Dead fans. Apparently, this is sort of is gravitating towards this show as well, which is obviously hugely popular as well. So when you get sort of those fan bases coming on the back of Van Helsing as well, obviously that's a huge thing as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously The Walking Dead is a monolith hit, right? So but the shows, I'm sorry, my cat keeps working back and forth. The shows do have a lot of parallels, zombie apocalypse and vampire apocalypse, but it is really they both are really about the human condition and survival, and what extremes you will go to in terms of survival, and what really matters when you're in those kind of predicaments. And so when I was offered the role, I hadn't actually seen the show before, and when I went back and started watching some of Van Helsing, that was my first comparison. Oh, it's similar to Walking Dead. And you know, with all the Dracula stories over the years, there's been all different incarnations, and often they are a little bit more campy, a little bit more fun. I mean, the subject matter is dark, so you can really take it from being very dark and gritty to being very camp and fun and over the top. You know, there's such a sexual element to and seductive element to Dracula, and you know, the sucking of the blood and everything. So it's I like the darker versions. I personally, that's what I'm drawn to, is something a little bit more dramatic and dark. But the campy ones certainly can be a lot of fun too.
And you mentioned that, Tricia, and in terms of portraying the sort of Dracula role, did you want to come across maybe as a sort of temptress, or did you want to come across as a strong, sort of demeaning sort of a character in terms of the sort of, what dare I say it, a bold sort of conniving sort of woman sort of lead sort of a role in terms of a vicious type of Dracula? Was it a sultry or more vicious that you were trying to go for in this time?
Definitely more vicious, especially in the fourth season with my introduction. I wanted to steer away from the, and also given the tone of Van Helsing, right? It might have been different if it was, you know, a different tone, but given the tone of Van Helsing, I didn't want to come across as, you know, hair all done and all vamped up and, you know, seductress. There is such a sexuality and charm to the character inherently, that I thought that was better to kind of let that grow, because I knew I was coming back in the fifth season, right? So to see a little bit more of that side of her later on, as opposed to right in the beginning. And in the beginning, she's been locked away in the dark realm for so long that it's more just her kind of emerging and her kind of becoming aware of the surroundings and her release. So I wanted her to be almost a little bit more creature-like than seductress. And so that you really, but that you knew that this character was all powerful and doesn't feel like she doesn't, you know, she doesn't have an equivalent. She is the leader. She is darkness. And so I wanted her to have a strength and a power about her more so than a seductiveness, and let the seductiveness come across as we get to know her more, with her power and with her control of situations and everything. And so we see that more in season 5 and going into season 5, but we also start season 5 with the backstory of Dracula and how our Dracula came to be. So we get to see a whole other side of Dracula. I don't know where you said you haven't started airing yet, right? So no. I won't give away spoilers. But we do, the first 3 episodes are the kind of the origin story of our Dracula and the origin stories of the Van Helsings. So we travel back in time to Transylvania. And so I really kind of play 3 characters in pre-Dracula, and then mid-Dracula, and then full strength Dracula.
And I suppose, Tricia, in terms of that, obviously most of your interactions will be with the Vanessa Van Helsing character, but in season 5. But you mentioned there about male roles, and what struck me is you've 2 prominent male roles there: Alex Paunovich, who plays Julius, and Jonathan Scarf, who plays Axel sort of Miller. And is there much sort of interactions between your character Dracula and those sort of 2 male characters as well in season 5?
I actually have no scenes with either of them.
Okay.
Jonathan Scarf directed the majority of the episodes that I did, or half of the episodes that I did. So I worked with Jonathan, but not in an acting capacity. We're in some of the same episodes, but we didn't have actually scenes together. So who I work with mostly is the Van Helsings. So Vanessa, Jack, and Nicole. And so that's predominantly who I work with, and Jesse Stanley, who plays the Oracle, and I won't give it away who else I work with in the beginning of season 5 because that'll be a spoiler. But I basically worked with all women. So, and I love Alex and Jonathan. I love that. I was bummed I didn't actually get to act with them, but they're both again, I got to work with Jonathan as a director, and he's a fantastic director, and Alex is an old friend. So.
And Tricia, we might turn it over for this final 30 seconds of this segment, talking about Van Helsing, to your own character, Dracula herself, the female sort of Dracula. She might enlighten all our TV viewers and listeners and radio, obviously our radio listeners and TV viewers here in Ireland, why they should tune into season 5 of Van Helsing when it does air in the upcoming month here in Ireland and the UK.
I think it's just it's a finale to the series, and I think it starts off really fresh and interesting with the backstory, which really then ties in and will help tie in some of the mythology of the series throughout the entire 4 seasons. So if you've enjoyed the series all along, I think you definitely don't want to miss the final season.
So on that note, do stay in touch. Do look out for season 5 of Van Helsing. It is coming our way here very soon on channel Netflix. Tricia Helfer will be playing the one and only Dracula. But for the moment, Tricia, thank you to talking to us about Van Helsing. And do come back after the break. We have Tricia Helfer talking about another thing in terms of her iconic career. And if you're a sci-fi fan, you sure don't want to miss this.